This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Let's talk about another lawsuit. This is a weird one. There's a couple of different ones, I guess we should mention here, but there's a lawsuit against WWE that's highlighted in a TMZ story, and it's by Doug and Tommy Gilbert. And I guess the lawsuit is alleging that neither Gilbert have ever signed contracts with WWE or ESPN, so they don't have the rights to use their names and likeness. Of course, we're talking about a lot of the footage that now is available on the network, ESPN Classics, things like that. Of course, the company at this point has bought the rights to the Global Wrestling Federation library, but ESPN still had rights to use it under the terms of their contract. Meanwhile, Ricky Steamboat is in a lawsuit with WWE, and they're going to end with a summary judgment about using footage on television that goes nowhere. And a third case was filed by Stevie Ray, not the brother of Booker T, but another guy who wrestled in the territories from 87 to 94. He's also upset that ESPN had aired some of these matches. So there's lots of criticism and lawsuits being filed about, hey, you're showing my stuff and I'm not getting paid and you don't have the right to do it. Did any of that ever cross your mind when some of this stuff started being picked up by the WWE network? Because once upon a time, you know, you guys would get royalties from videotape sales and things like that. That's not the case in the network era, right?
Well, when I'm wondering when that was that we got the money for the videotapes you're talking about.
Well,
I don't recall that.
The WWF, at least. Maybe WCW didn't do it, but we've been led to believe that when the WWF was up and rolling, that when a DVD went out or a game went out, or you guys would participate, and maybe the game stuff was still there, but a lot of the DVD sales, that's now going by the wayside. And obviously VHS isn't a thing anymore, but now with it all going through the network, I know there was a lot of, current in-ring talent at the time who were saying, how do pay-per-view payoffs work now? If there's no buy rate, nobody's buying the pay-per-view. Sort of the same thing for some of these other merchandise pieces that now maybe become a little less important with the network.
I was just teasing you, but the fact is, and we've discussed this, I never got a dime marketing until I went to WWF. Nothing with Crockett, nothing with WCW, nothing with the other territories as far as Pensacola or Bill Watts that I'd worked for. Here's probably, and I'm not a lawyer by any stretch of the imagination, but in these televised matches that say the Gilberts were showing up on ESPN or wherever, when they got paid for performing on those television shows, their compensation was covered. Just guessing. Once you took a payoff for being on TV, you gave up your rights for anything going further. I would imagine. Does that sound probable? Maybe?
Sure.
Possible?
Mm-hmm.
Not being a lawyer, I don't know how those lawsuits panned out, but I'm sure not well for them. Just saying, I never heard of anybody filing a lawsuit about their likeness being on TV and winning the case. If there are some, I'd sure love to hear about it.
Well, I think the only example that we know of is Jesse Ventura, but as a rule, they just quit using him going forward and problem solved.
Yeah. And then that was, part of the reason I was never going to hag. Number one, I wasn't going to be a big merchandise seller, but I'm sure when the Horsemen were hot, we could have sold a ton.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is we could have probably set the standard for merchandise at one point. But I was making money. I was living my dream. I was enjoying being a wrestler and all those trappings that came with that. I wasn't thinking about merchandise money and all that stuff going forward because it was just a different industry back then. So, the mechanics of what goes with all those different areas of revenue, it's out of my expertise anyway.
One last a piece of business here before we get to the show. Vern Gagne passed away on April 28th. Did you ever meet Vern?
Yeah, I met him 3 times in one night.
That sounds like a good story.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those deals that I'm probably a face that you're not going to remember. But we had the co-op show in the Meadowlands with AWA and Jim Crockett Promotions. And from the time I got there, just walking the halls and stuff, which I thought was very, very personable of him, Vern Gagne stuck his hand out and introduced himself to me. In the course of about 3 hours, I think it was 3 times, which you can look at it on face value and go, I'm very honored by that. Or you can just say, I've got a face that's not very memorable, or third option is whatever you want to put in the box.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.